What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with more from the Brothers Gibb, and we're returning to the 1972 album To Whom It May Concern. Thank you once again to Amy for providing this incredible gatefold vinyl, which is from 72. I'm just going to show that every time we go through a song on this album. But the next one on the list is Never Been Alone. So it feels like it's the type of phrase that could only be in the context of I've never been alone or you've never been alone. I would expect more it to be self-referential, but of course that could mean different things. It could be about being surrounded by brothers or family, maybe friends. Of course it could relate to relationships where you've gone from one to another almost with no gap in between, so you've never really experienced, once you began dating or once you had your first relationship, a period of time in which you didn't have a partner or you were indeed not in a romantic situation, and thus you might have a distorted view of what that would look like if you were seeing it in others because it's not part of your experience. I don't quite know what to make of it beyond that. It is just a phrase without wider narrative or directional context, so I'll try to see what I can catch on a first listen. This is Bee Gees, the track is Never Been Alone, and apparently I think it's written by Robin, is that right? Yes, this one's written by Robin, as it's credited on the album information, and it's from their 1972 album, To Whom It May Concern.
I've never been alone, and I've only seen the sky. Still I know the reason why. I've been thinking it over. I've never climbed a tree, but that's natural for me. And you don't know my name, so I'm thinking it over. And every day I'm learning the things that are concerning you and And if you were beside me, you'd know what's inside me, so tell me why. Give me inspiration to clear the situation we've known too long. And if we end up crying, then one of us is lying, so tell me. Never rode a plane, and I never will again. So till then I'll drink the rain while I'm thinking it over. And every day I'm learning the things that are concerning you and And if you were beside me, you'd know what's inside me, so tell me why. Give me inspiration to clear the situation we've known too long. And if we end up crying, then one of us is lying, so tell me. Never rode a plane, and I never will again. So till when I'll drink the rain while I'm thinking it over. Yes, I'm thinking it over.
What a fascinating tune. It's sort of a mixture, sonically, of a soft acoustic guitar-led folk song with a bit of a chamber music concerto type of sound. And ultimately, I'm curious because it sounds like he's saying he is now alone in a way he's never been before, if I'm reading that right, but he's also looking for clarity relative to this other person, and he sounds like he's beginning to understand them better and suggesting that if they could be beside each other, she would know him and his feelings and experiences, or indeed lack of experience, inside him, inside his life, inside his heart, would become more evident to her. But it sounds like they're at a bit of a go one way or go a fork in the road, a situation where they could either get closer and become something, or that might fall apart, or they might continue on separate paths. And he's trying to get a sense. Now he's saying he knows more of he's learning what is concerning to her and to them, but again, it sounds like, that means that up until this point, they haven't necessarily had any direct connection. So the other lines about never having climbed a tree naturally, and then she doesn't know his name, he's never been on a plane, those lines I feel like could be more direct or literal, but also they could be in reference to, he's never taken a journey this far. He's never tried to get up to the heights of the top of a tree to survey the land and thus the situation in relation to them emotionally. So I don't quite know how to take those. And surely, if they're from Australia, he had in fact been on a plane by this point. So yes, obviously you can create a character that is not necessarily reflective of your own life story, while still drawing upon your emotional experiences, your interpersonal narrative in a more direct way. So I do wonder, again, the exact provenance of the connection between these two people, but it sounds like he wants to be with her, he wants to know her better, and for him to know, or for her to know him better, but he's not sure if that's going to happen, and it depends on the actions or the response of this other person. But as I said, seemingly drawing in some metaphors or maybe visual references in his own life story as a way to understand or explicate his situation vis-a-vis her. So yeah, a fascinating tune, one where it's a bit of a painting of a picture, but we don't get the full extension of time. At least going forward, we get, I suppose, a bit more of it going past, but it's really about this moment where it sounds like he's not quite sure what will happen, though we do get his normative prescription. We do get a sense of what he wants to happen, but it sounds like he's not sure if it's going to. In any case, as I said, I love the composition, which is a consistent feature of the Bee Gees deep dive, where, understanding even before I began this deep dive that they're far more than what they're most known for internationally or among casual observers. The regularity of the exquisite composition of strings, guitars, voices in harmony but also independently, and let's give a shout out to, I'm guessing that was Robin singing his own song, those incredible extensions where they're not only incredibly long, but then they still have a very notable melodic curve to them at the end, which is, you're using a lot of breath control if you can extend in a single melodic framework for a long period of time, and then at the end of that still have the agility to give what's the right word? Not bendy, that feels too simplistic, but a very multi-note coda or flourish at the end of that extension that speaks well to, again, breath control and melodic vocal ability. So yes, just a really great vocal performance, and it sounded like that was just him on the vocals. In the moment, I'm now forgetting if I heard any moments where there were suddenly, some harmonies, but it felt like it was a very, spotlight on him vocally type of performance. So sonically great, vocally compelling, lyrically intriguing, and I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say about this one. So once again, shout out to Amy and to all those who've shared the Bee Gees material more broadly. Again, Adam, Lisa, Kim, I'm trying to think if there's others. Again, this is another deep dive where it's come from so many different sources and over now such a long period of time. And again, shout out, most of the people who've been here since the early days of this deep dive still chime in for each installment. So I appreciate the patience as I've gone through this catalog. And again, we have so much more to go. So I'm hoping you'll continue on with me through the Brothers Gibb. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.